It is low tide on the bay side of Cape Henlopen, Delaware, and in the bay there are snails called mud dog whelks. The receding tide is exposing these detritivores, revealing how many of them there truly are. However, the snails are not alone. There are two American oyster catchers, although they mostly eat bivalves like clams and oysters, but they will also eat other seafood. You may be wondering, how do they get oysters open? Well, the answer is they either cut the mollusk's muscles or they break the shell open, all of which is done with their beak. These shorebirds can be found along a lot of the coasts of North and South America, although their range extends a lot further north along the east coast. They have a small breeding range that spans from the coasts of New England to New Jersey. However, they have been known to nest further south. In the water are hermit crabs, which are actually not true crabs, and they use sea snail shells for protection. Unfortunately, I am not sure what species they are. But over here are some slipper snails. There is not just life in the bay, but also the dunes, and in a bush is a northern mockingbird. They are relatives of the catbirds from Woodland World, but unlike them, they prefer more open areas. Back underwater, there are Atlantic horseshoe crabs, which are not crabs or even crustaceans, but relatives of the extinct trilobites. Horseshoe crabs themselves are living fossils because they first appeared about 445 million years ago during the Ordovician period, long before vertebrates crawled out of the water. Today, there are 4 species of horseshoe crabs, all native to the coasts of Asia, except for the Atlantic horseshoe crab. The tide is rising and the gulls are filled up with food, standing on sandbars slowly going underwater. Flying over the cape is a raptor, an osprey. They can be found on every continent except for Antarctica, even though there's only one living osprey species. Now let's move to the other side of the cape, the side that touches the Atlantic Ocean. Flying above us is a great black-backed gull, the largest seagull in the world, and yet another laughing gull. Down in the water is a lost black scoter. Right now, these sea ducks are supposed to be breeding in northern Canada or Alaska, but for some reason this one is spending his summer in Delaware. They have a Eurasian relative called the common scoter, and they were thought to be the same species until 2009. Above is a brown pelican. We will hear more about them later. The American oyster catchers from earlier are also coming through. It is a very sunny and bright day at the beach today. There are many animals beyond the waves. Let's see how many we can find. First, there are some brown pelicans. There's also a flock of cormorants. And there's even a marine mammal, a dolphin. Ospreys eat almost entirely fish. In fact, 99% of their diet is fish. Remember how I said there is only one living osprey species? Well, that species is the only living member of its genus, and also its family. Brown pelicans can't be found much further north than Delaware, but they still have a pretty large range that spans from here through the Caribbean all the way down to South America, and can be found on the Pacific coast too, even on the Galapagos Islands. Laughing gulls are a fairly common bird. There are at least 528,000 breeding adults, but it wasn't always this way. In the late 1800s, they were hunted for their eggs and plumes, which of course caused their population to decrease. Luckily, the laughing gull population has recovered, obviously, but some breeding colonies still face threats. Although the warming climate might actually help these birds, because it will allow their range to expand a lot. This pelican has spotted a small fish, so it is diving headfirst into the water to catch it. In fact, there is a whole school of fish here, and the pelican is not the only bird who is having a feast. Similarly to the laughing gull, in the 19th century, brown pelicans were overhunted for their plumes. For some reason, wearing their feathers was fashionable back then. Luckily, this ended before 1900, but this was only the beginning of the problems for the brown pelican. By the 1960s, many kinds of pesticides were being used, the worst of which was called DDT, and I'm not even going to try to say what it stands for. The pesticides washed into creeks, which turned into rivers, which then emptied into the ocean, getting inside of fish, and the pelicans ate the fish, so then the pesticides got inside of them. After that, the toxins from the pesticide caused the birds to lay thin eggs, so when the parents tried to incubate them, the eggs cracked. As you can imagine, this was terrible news for the brown pelican population. So terrible that in 1970, they were declared endangered. 2 years later, DDTs were banned in the United States. This caused the brown pelican population to recover, so much that they even returned to places where they were gone. In 2009, the brown pelican was removed from the endangered species list, and now they are a species of least concern, expanding north. This right here is a juvenile pelican. And over here is a nice mature one. Nearby is a double-crested cormorant, and if you want to learn more about them, then watch this video. The flap of skin underneath the pelican's bill is called a gular pouch, and it is used to carry and scoop up fish. This osprey also wants to eat. Look, he caught a fish. Here is a flock of glossy ibises, and thank you for watching this video to the end, and thank you for watching just any of my videos. It is hard to believe that the first Woodland World video was posted exactly a year ago, but anyway, have a great day.